Welcome back to the Football Kingdom podcast. We are officially 6 weeks through the NFL season, and this was an absolutely weird week of football. With me is Tyler Mallon. I'm Brandon Johnson. Let's get into it. So, Kansas City Chiefs had a short week this week, hosting the Denver Broncos on Thursday Night Football. And this was one of those games where you never felt like the Kansas City Chiefs were going to lose, but it was just a classic. This is a really weird game that they are playing. They were 1-5 in the red zone. This game was 19-8, and they should have probably won 42-8.
That's fair.
And
Yeah,
I don't know what was. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say this was time and time again the definition of you're getting too cute because your trick plays ain't working when you didn't need to do trick plays at all. You know?
Yeah, there were four. There was like four times this game where I was like, "What are they doing?" I think Kadarius Toney threw a pass at one point. Obviously, the 4th-and-2 fake field goal that was never going to work. It was 4th-and-2, and you had Tommy Townsend pushing. I don't know where the logic was on that play, but give the guy who has 2 MVPs and 2 Super Bowl MVPs the football and let him work.
Yeah, and my main point is like when it doesn't work, it's too cute. When it does, it's genius. Like that whole thing. But today was like I'm jumping the gun. I wanted to make this point later in the game, but like it's you don't need to do these trick plays against a bad team. That's what I was tweeting all day. I'm like, this Broncos are bad. You don't need to empty the playbook against these guys. Just play a normal football game, march down the field like they were doing all game. They were doing it with ease. And they just kept shooting themselves in the foot. But it really highlights the short yardage issues. This is an echo chamber here, but it's it's a problem, and I really don't know what needs to be done. If Reed needs to think up some better ideas or give those short yardage plays to somebody else, because they ain't gonna QB sneak Mahomes. They've shown that time and time again. What do you think? I mean, should they try that again? Should they risk the knee? Is that a thing?
Here's my thing. Andy Reid has been coaching for forever, 30 years or something. And short yardage, I can't speak a ton on his time with the Eagles, but watching him with the Chiefs, short yardage has always been an issue. Whether it's 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1. He can't figure it out. He can't QB sneak. He can't just run the ball up the middle with a running back. He's got to always do something weird, and it makes no sense. But to answer your question, think that the knee injury against the Broncos 4 years ago now was a fluke. And I think Andy Reid needs to realize that was a fluke. And they need to get back to the QB sneak.
Didn't he get injured twice doing that, though, that same year? Am I crazy?
He had. I feel like he had an
two separate
ankle injury at one point, or a hand injury that season. I don't know, but obviously the notable one is the knee injury.
Well, yeah, that was a big one, and then they got it back in place, and he was like, he didn't even feel any pain, which is kind of
he's like, all right, let's go.
Medical thing. Yeah, it's like, yeah, you pop it back in place and you're good to go. But then all the talk was like, well, now it's going to be even easier to be knocked out of place again now that it's already happened.
Sure, but I mean, you gotta try it, because I mean, I was gonna say the tush push works, but after this weekend, the tush push only works for the Eagles. Nobody
Yeah.
else could figure out short yardage this weekend. So I don't. I guess I don't know what the solution is, but you got to at least try it with Patrick Mahomes, or say Blaine Gabbert is a big guy. Put Blaine Gabbert out. Don't even try to hide what you're doing. Hey, you know what? Blaine Gabbert's under center, big guy. We're doing a QB sneak. Try and stop us. That's an option.
Or just run a better play. Enough with this fake field goal on 4th and 2. That's I don't think I've
4th and 2.
ever seen that. Have you ever seen that play ran before? Like, what are we doing?
I mean, not 4th and 2, maybe 4th and
No.
inches. 4th and
Yeah,
inches, I would have been like, okay, sure. But
Well, if you're in 4th down territory, then just run a play. You have Mahomes, you know? I
Yeah.
don't need to say that, but it's like, come on.
no,
I shouldn't have to say it.
I'm with
We
you.
shouldn't be here.
And there's a theory. I think it was obviously a joke, but there's a theory that somebody had that all the stupid plays we saw ran were plays that the players had made up and ran by Andy Reid, and this was the week that he finally let them do it, and none of them worked. And this was his way of telling them that these don't work, and that's why we don't run them. But also, I feel like there was a huge possibility that the Chiefs weren't taking this game seriously. Like, there's also jokes about it being a televised practice, and you see some of the
Right.
things that were happening, and you're like, I mean, I don't think that's what they were doing, but they're not going to do this kind of nonsense against the Bills or the Eagles or whoever, you know?
No. And again, yeah, it's like that's what you're supposed to do, though, is put away bad teams. But I mean, do they have that much hubris to really? Is that really the truth? I would be shocked if that's really what they were doing. But also with 3 or 4 trick plays, like just
You gotta wonder.
You don't need it. You don't need it against this team.
Yeah. It was again, I think I said last week that the Broncos would stumble into a touchdown, and that's exactly what they did. This game again should have been 35-42 to 10 or something, and
Yeah, it was a great catch by Sutton.
The Courtland Sutton catch was amazing, and I am not sure how the ref missed that in real time. It looked like a catch in real time to me. So I don't know what he was looking at that he missed it, but that should have never had to have been reviewed.
Right. When I think I didn't see the play in I don't know. I didn't think it was a catch at the beginning. It looked like one, but I was also like, well, they didn't call it one, so I think we're good because I think it was kind of out of bounds. But then the replay, I was like, oh yeah, that was definitely.
I don't know.
Easily.
I think they caught the ref daydreaming or something. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know what he was looking at, but great catch, great play. They converted a 2-point conversion there. But the reason that they were even in a position to score was because of a bogus roughing the passer penalty.
Oh my God.
One of the most textbook tackles I've seen this season.
Yeah.
Wiped out by the stupid penalty. And at that point, and the explanation is frustrating. I'm sorry to cut you off. The explanation was frustrating by the rules analyst because he's like, well, it was because his body weight was going down. And my opinion is get the stupid rules analyst off air. They don't help. It was a terrible penalty.
It was. Because that's what he's saying is not what happened. And if we're going to watch the replay in slow-mo and see that that's clearly not what happened, like what's the point? You know, because they got it wrong. He let go of the ball already, but that's a textbook sack. You're going to still drive him to the ground, whether you know that he threw it or not. I don't think his head was up at all. Like, he was making the sack, and it was a textbook tackle. It was a soft call. There was that soft blindside call too,
Mm-hmm.
The freaking owl kept saying like, "Why are the fans booing?" It's like, dude, they know football. That's why. He kept saying like, "Well, that's a penalty," or what the heck was he saying? Whatever he was saying was kind of pissing me off because I'm like, the fans are not mad about that. They're mad because it was a bad call, Al.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to spend a bunch more time on the officiating because I think it's just collectively it's consistently inconsistent, I think is a way to describe it, because it's just you go from one game to another and they're not calling certain plays or they are calling plays, and I just want to be consistent across the board. That's all I'm asking for. Come on.
Yeah,
It's just one egregious penalty after another.
right. Yeah, and there was the Buffalo Giants game that was like the last play was so clearly pass interference, you know, and they don't call it. And it even when the camera's panning, it shows the ref has a clear view of the hold on the
Hmm.
jersey. He's like pulling this dude down, and it really and it's week after week. We haven't covered it on the show, but I've seen multiple calls where you're like, they either got it wrong or they got it right, or it's unreviewable, and we're really inching towards, you know, it is hard to get every single call right, especially when you're at field level, but we're at a point where reviews are good enough and you know what you're seeing, and the fans at home are like, what are we doing? you
Well,
know
yeah, and that's why I go back to like the rules analysts, because they are like, Dean Blandino, what do you see here? And they don't help because he was a former ref and he doesn't
right.
want to like speak out against his colleagues or former colleagues, and you just have him validating a stupid call. And that's why nobody knows what a catch is. Nobody knows
Yep.
what roughing the passer is. Nobody knew what DPI was 2 seasons ago. We were able to challenge DPI. What, like,
Right.
get it
It
right.
was right.
And NFL's not the only league that has issues. Like, I can go over to MLB and talk all day about nonsense over there, but they got to do something. And I think a lot of it comes down to there needs to be a more accountability. There's got to be more accountability in the league. And there's none. Players, when they mess up, they get fined. They have to answer to media. Stick these guys in front of a media. Make them have a post game press conference so media can say, "Hey, what the heck was that?" Make them answer and own their decisions and their mistakes. That's what we want.
That is what we want. I totally agree.
That's again, I didn't expect to go down that path, but
Right.
it's just NFL is king in American sports. It's the best product. It's the best product in the country for sports. Get it right. That's that's all.
Right.
You have such a great product that the officials should not be a point of conversation each day, to where you have people that legitimately think that the NFL is scripted. I know it's a joke and the NFL leaned into it and played into it, but you have people that actually think that games are rigged because you just have such a wacky officiating problem going on.
Yeah, that's always going to be a problem because people are crazy, but you're absolutely right. It is probably the hardest to officiate, but the technology's there. There's not a perfect answer, but it's got to get better than this.
Yeah,
So
I think it just starts with accountability. But
that would help.
yeah, we can move on. Back
Yes.
back into the Chiefs game. I said earlier, 1 for 5 in the red zone. Um, Patrick Mahomes had a quietly nice game. Threw for 300 yards, threw a touchdown. He obviously threw an interception that was kind of weird, which all of his interceptions have been kind of questionable this season. But again, quietly nice game. And after 6 weeks, he's at the top of the MVP odds with Tua, which just tells you that like despite the offensive struggles that we have seen with Kansas City, the general consensus is that Patrick Mahomes is still the most valuable player in the league.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, 30 for 40, 306, one TD, one interception, 2 sacks. But watching the game, he felt a lot more solid than that. But again, they just couldn't convert in key moments. But no, I mean, he does what he needs to. And I think Butker's MVP here. He had a 50 and a 60-yarder in the wind. I mean, what do we do without him in this game?
Yeah, he's been fantastic this season.
Right.
And I'll be the first to tell you, I was last season, or maybe even 2 seasons ago, I was kind of like, I don't know about Butker, just because he had the PAT issues. But really looking back to the AFC title game last year, where he kicked the Chiefs into the Super Bowl and then turned around and won the Super Bowl, he's been money. So
yeah, he had that injury and then kind of turned it around.
Yeah,
been pretty money after that. So,
but Travis Kelce had a classic Travis Kelce Broncos game. Nine catches for 124 yards. He didn't get into the end zone, but again, just the Broncos couldn't cover him.
Yeah, those kind of stats. It's classic Kelce throwing laterals. Like it's practice.
I wholeheartedly believe that was by design, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
It did look, pre-planned.
Yeah. Was that Noah Gray that took it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he was just in a spot that I was like, that almost looked like that was drawn up that way. And it worked. So can't be mad about it. And that's not the first time we've seen him throw a lateral in a game.
No.
But and that's as far I guess we just ranted about trick plays. That's a trick play that you like. If that is how it was drawn up, or again, you wouldn't be surprised if Travis Kelce just was like, "Oh, here you go."
So, well, there was last couple seasons where he's like getting tackled. He's actively have like one or two players on him, and he's like looking to somebody to throw the ball to. Mm-hmm. You know, that was when Tyreek was on the team, and he's like, "I'll throw it to Tyreek Hill, and he'll go." You know,
yeah, but I think he's thrown on to Tyreek. He threw into I feel like it was LaShawn McCoy.
Okay.
As well, but
so I did want to say, Sean Payton really stuck his foot in his mouth this year. You know, with the whole calling out Hackett before the beginning of the season, and then the Jets beat him last week, and they have not looked good. Like they are all over the place. Go ahead.
They're poorly coached.
Yeah, that's very accurate.
Yeah,
they could not get anything going. I mean, they look terrible. It's really bad football. There was a fourth down. They called a timeout, and then still went for it. And then Russell Wilson's running around. He takes like a 10-yard sack or something.
Yeah,
and he's chucking up interceptions all game. Really bad balls. Just who are you throwing to?
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. He didn't throw. He threw for less than 100 yards.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness.
95. 13 for 22. Like it's
not good.
No. It was bad.
But this was it the 16th time in a row that the Chiefs have beat the Broncos?
Yeah, we can get into their schedule, but I mean, they see him again in 2 weeks.
Yep, they see him again in 2 weeks. But so yeah, Chiefs again, kind of quietly 5-1. I don't know. Like, again, kind of going through all these things. They're 5-1. Not a whole lot to complain about. But I do think we're 6 weeks into the season. It's kind of worth talking about the wide receivers because this was a game that I fully expected the Chiefs wide receiver core to figure it out, and didn't end up happening. But I will say there is a receiver that kind of ascended above the group outside of Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice was a standout player for me this week. He's coming up big, and I was kind of looking at season stats because we went into this season kind of unsure of who our receivers were. And Rashee Rice, through 6 weeks rather, 245 yards receiving, and he's on pace for like 750. But after last week, I think that we're going to kind of see him get some more looks, get some more targets, and he could, if all goes well, he could quietly be a 900 to 1,000 yard receiver at the end of the season. And plus his yak, he's got 150 yards after the catch. Dude is fast.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously second in receptions behind Travis Kelce, who hasn't even played all 6 games.
Right. Yeah, he's second on the team in targets and receptions. And the dude, the yak is definitely what you see whenever you're a fan watching this team. It's give this guy the ball and he's going to go pick up tons of yardage after the fact. The one thing, and again, I said this last week, like Reed's like, we want to keep giving him, more looks because he had a couple drops, but he's like, we're still going to keep going to this guy. But the one thing I'll say about him is he needs to protect the ball. He is a rookie, and I know we haven't talked about this, but you had to have seen this guy does not protect the ball when he's running, and he's going to get that thing knocked out. Like that, they have to work on that.
Yeah.
That'll come with fumbles.
That'll come with some experience.
Yeah.
But again, looked really good. But looking at the rest of the receivers, Justin Watson's behind Rashee Rice. He's kind of your deep threat. And I didn't expect Justin Watson to be your second best wide receiver this far into the season. I was hoping that Sky Moore, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Kadarius Toney would be, your top 3 looks, and this hasn't happened. It feels like Sky Moore just feels like there's almost a little bit of a lack of trust between Mahomes and Sky Moore, and it's starting to look more to me like what McCole Hardman was. We just thought like, it'll come between Hardman and Mahomes, and it just never did. And that, to me, that's kind of the trajectory we're on with Sky Moore is like, okay, 500 yards, like a 500-yard receiving yards this season. But Valdes-Scantling, another guy that really thought you would see more out of him. He only has 7 catches through 6 weeks, so he's doing nothing. He's a non-factor. And go to Kadarius Toney, 17 catches for 92 yards. How? Like, Kadarius Toney was supposed to be the number 1 receiver going into this season.
Yeah, he was. He really has not been productive. He's been there when you need him for first downs, and kind of chunk plays. Like he has, explosive plays in him, but he's just not consistent. I don't know if he's just not getting open. But yeah, with Sky Moore too, he's very much, I think you nail it with the Hardman example, because they really run a lot of jet sweeps with him or little slant plays. And again, he's kind of there when you need him. When you need a first down or something, you can go to him. And that's kind of what all these guys have really done. Is not, rack up yards, but they're usually there for a good first down conversion at times, but Yeah, I honestly thought, MVS this was going to be his year. I've always kind of believed in him. The stuff he did with Rodgers, you thought, okay, well, now he's with Mahomes and let's chuck the ball down the field. And I don't know if it's just the cover two that's just always out there or what that cuts the top off the offense. But yeah, pretty underwhelming with all these guys.
Yeah, I just think they're not getting open. But yeah, Kadarius Toney was a guy that had a lot of expectations going into the year, and it's not there. So we'll see. Again, though, I think Rashee Rice is going to start to blossom, and we're really going to come to like him in the second half of the season. And to stick with the offense, Isaiah Pacheco. We've talked about it all season, but we have a running back. He's gonna run for 1,200 yards, and he's gonna be angry at the ground. He's so good, and it's just nice. It's nice to have that.
And he's the third receiver on the team at this point.
Yeah, pretty much.
He has 19 targets, 17 receptions, 135 yards on receiving alone. And Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's got himself 100 yards, and again, he's been solid when they give it to him. They'll give it to him, and he'll get a yard or nothing. But he's in little moments. He's kind of at least a little surprising.
I'll agree with that. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I've been less mad when he gets the football because he doesn't get it that much. And there's been just a few plays where he's been productive. But yeah, he's not getting those explosive plays that you see with Pacheco, but good in small doses, I guess.
Yep. That's what they've been doing with him, so.
Yeah. And once again, the defense just showed out. And again, the Broncos kind of stumbled into that touchdown and got helped by the penalty, but a really good defense that is about to get better potentially with Charles Omenihu's suspension ending.
Yeah.
You're going to have him on that line coming after the quarterback. There were also conversations about Frank Clark. I don't know if that's going to end up happening, but Chiefs defense is looking like they're going to be here for the long haul.
I think so, yeah. Andy Reid said Omenihu's going to be no pitch count. He's fully in shape and ready to go, which is good news. And that's just another positive to an already awesome unit that's going on. Nick Bolton's first game back from injury got a pretty easy interception, but it's nice to see him making plays. And yeah, very, very turnover heavy so far. So just what you want.
Well, as always, Tyler, there are other things that happened in week 6 of the season. We had a couple of upsets happen. The Eagles and the 49ers both went into this week undefeated, looking like neither of them could lose. And the Jets, who have been honestly kind of a fun football team, took care of the Philadelphia Eagles, knocked them off. And at the same time, the Browns beat the 49ers. And the Browns, my takeaway from them is that they have a bona fide defense. And if Deshaun Watson can figure it out, they could be a pretty dang good football team.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets-Eagles, that was just the Jets' defense winning them that game. I mean, they kept giving Zach Wilson chance after chance and just did nothing with it. And they had 2 of their starters were out. I think Sauce was out and somebody else too. But I mean, again, after the Chiefs game, I'm like, okay, Zach Wilson's going to come back down to earth. But it's another unfortunate thing with the Rodgers injury of like how good the Jets could have been, because I mean, this could have been a blowout. I mean, you watch this game, the Jets just kept giving the ball back to Zach Wilson and just nothing was going on. And he's taken I think he took 5 sacks and he had just backbreakers too. Like big, like 15-yard lost sacks, and that's kind of saw that coming, but yeah. Yeah, with the Browns, that was an amazing game to have PJ Walker come in and just kind of stun the 49ers. Brock Purdy really couldn't get anything going on, just kind of off time with everything with his receivers, but
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
two really big
Really the
losses.
first time we've seen Brock Purdy kind of look human
Right.
was this week. But yeah, both Eagles and 49ers are now 5-1, still sitting atop the NFC, but did not expect either of those teams to lose this week. But that's the any given Sunday of it.
Yeah. Little upset. Saints and Texans. Texans beat them. I mean, I don't know what the Saints are doing. I mean, I have Alvin Kamara on my fantasy team, and he usually just, they still lose, and the dude gets a million points. But
Sure.
yeah,
But
the Saints are kind of a lost cause as well.
no, they are, and I think like the Texans, they have something with CJ Stroud. I think that they're going to be a team that when we get to the end of the season, they're going to be a lot better than we thought they were going to be this year. Because, I mean, if you look at the NFC or the AFC South, Jacksonville's finally kind of starting to hit their rhythm and win some football games, but it's close, and you never know. Excuse me. Yeah, CJ Stroud is probably gonna run away with the rookie of the year vote this season. So they're in good hands in Houston.
Yeah, they kind of jumped the gun with how good they are. I did not expect that, but they kind of won the lottery with CJ Stroud with how good he's looked. So yeah, they'll definitely start giving the Jags problems next couple years.
Yeah, Jacksonville better figure it out. Team, I mean it was like 21-3, like out of nowhere before the Indianapolis Colts could blink last week. I don't know if you're watching, but I think it was 3-0, and then I think Jacksonville turned around and scored, and then turned around and got a turnover and scored again, and it was like, oh, that got away from us fast.
Right.
But I want to talk about the New England Patriots. So obviously, the Patriots are absolutely struggling this season. They're now 1-5, and kind of looking like they might be able to win 3 games this year. And there's been a lot of questions, should Patriots move on from Bill Belichick? Is it time for him to hang it up? Has he lost it? Is the game passed him by? What is it? And I thought it was worth kind of looking into the Patriots post Tom Brady. So 2020 to now, the Patriots have not had Brady on their team. And in that time frame, they are 26-30. And those losses are going to continue to rack up. And they have had one playoff appearance, and that was in 2021 that was Mac Jones's rookie year. The one season that Mac Jones has looked good, but since then, Mac Jones has been terrible, and he's getting worse as he continues to play. So He's thrown 7 interceptions this season. He's only thrown 5 touchdowns, and he just doesn't seem to have any sort of ability to play quarterback in the NFL anymore. And I think he's a lot of the reason for the failures of the Patriots. I think, but you can't walk away from blaming Bill Belichick, um, because I think you have set an expectation of winning in New England, obviously with Tom Brady through all those years, and you turn around and your product has stunk for going on 2 seasons now, and it's if you're going to continue with Mac Jones, the future does not look good there. And I don't think that New England has turned on Belichick, but as far as the fans go, but I think there's going to be a time where you're going to have to kind of evaluate, do we need say he's not getting any younger. He's like 73, I think 74. I think you're going to have to go and think, man, do we want to continue with him, cuz it's not cutting it. Um Mac Jones isn't cutting it. Their offense just stinks. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I think at this point you might as well play to get yourself into the Caleb Williams sweepstakes out and get the number 1 overall pick, get Caleb Williams. But some dark days in New England right now.
Yeah, I don't know if they if Robert Kraft is willing to kind of tank. I really don't know. They've kind of gone with Mac Jones this whole time, and I've never believed in him. I don't understand why they've kind of wheeled him out there. I don't think they really have anybody else. But at this point, you got to make a change. Like he had one 300-yard game this season, and that was the first game. Since then, it's 230 or less, and he's had 2 touchdowns in 4 weeks. And he's not the answer there.
Yeah.
Or something's going on, like you said, with the coaching. Or, I mean, do you really let Belichick go at the end of the season and let somebody else have him and move on and just say that era is over with? What do you do?
I mean, I think you have to consider it because, to your point about Robert Kraft being willing to tank, I don't think Belichick is willing to tank. I think he's got too big of an ego. And so
does he want to start over?
Does he want to start over? And if this is, Bill Belichick's team with him trying, this is it's going to be an awful result. But I don't know. It's so weird because you don't see that out of the Patriots, and they're going to have to start over, whether Belichick's there or not. You can't. Mac Jones cannot be your quarterback he can't be your quarterback next season. Even I was going to say for the next 6 years, but he cannot be your quarterback this time next season. So I'll be curious to see kind of how this season shakes out for the Patriots and what the offseason looks like. Maybe it's Belichick, hey, I'm good. I don't need this anymore. Or maybe they go into a draft and get a quarterback and send Mac Jones to the moon. But they got to get it figured out because their division is really good with Buffalo, Miami, and
Jets.
The Jets potentially with an Aaron Rodgers return are going to be really good. So Patriots are kind of the afterthought in that division right now. But I don't know. That's just kind of my thoughts on the Patriots and their whole situation. Monday Night Football was a fun little matchup between the Cowboys and Chargers, and it ended up being a matchup of who can be the worst coach between Mike McCarthy and Brandon Staley. And the Cowboys won this football game, but for the first time, maybe not for the first time, but I really saw NFL Twitter saying you got to get Brandon Staley out of there. So Brandon Staley, to me, feels like a mid-season firing, whether it's, you know, after the Chiefs game or it's a little bit down the road. If they don't turn it around, which I don't see them doing, the guy's gone.
I mean, yeah, they're 2-3 at this point, and they don't look any better. Last night, I mean, Herbert was really tearing up their zone defense. You know, just all their guys were just sitting in the gaps, just waiting. It just wasn't good enough. You know, they just kept taking sacks, threw a couple interceptions, and I don't know. I think I'm starting to see your kind of dislike of Herbert, where you're like, the dude is special and is really good. But, I mean, yeah, maybe it is more of the coaching that could probably kind of unlock his potential, though. But you've never been a big, believer in Herbert, have you?
I haven't. And to his defense, like I do think he's a talented quarterback, but he hasn't accomplished anything. He's also had, I think, like 4 offensive coordinators, so he's had no consistency whatsoever in his career. So that's tough to jump around from coordinator to coordinator. But I do think that he's a talented quarterback, and I think that the Chargers have a really solid roster, and that's something that's also kind of frustrating about the Chargers is you have a coaching staff that is kind of wasting a window of opportunity with this team, because if you really look at their roster, they should be going toe to toe with the Kansas City Chiefs each season. Like this should be like the to look ahead. The last game of the season is Chiefs Chargers. That should be, if everything was going well, how I think it should be going. That should be a game that decides the division, and it's likely going to be a game where the Chiefs rest their starters because they're already in. So it's just a waste of an opportunity.
No, you nailed it there, because you're playing the Cowboys at home. Well, at home, home field advantage.
Sure. All 10 Chargers fans.
Right. Austin Eckler had 50 yards total, 27 rushing. I mean, how are we doing that? I mean, the dude, it's better than that against, honestly, pretty good Cowboys team, but he could not get anything going. Keenan Allen looked pretty decent, but yeah, you're right. I mean, he's got the weapons, and I think the talent. But yeah, they've really kind of set him up for failure, and I think you're probably correct. A mid-season firing is probably in the future.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because that would, again, just create more inconsistency for Justin Herbert. So, but they gotta get the right guy in there. Get somebody that can turn that football team around.
Right. All that being said, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to move on to the Cowboys. Of like, Prescott's kind of had the same career where he's had multiple OCs and kind of been set up for failure as well. But honestly, either one of these teams could have lost it last night. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty low scoring for as good as those teams are supposed to be and have kind of shown. 2017, just stuck in second gear. You know what I mean? Like this could have been a much higher scoring game, and one team just takes it over and makes a statement, but is just kind of lackluster and doesn't really inspire me with confidence for either of these teams.
Yeah, I was really hoping the Cowboys would go into this game and just roll the Chargers to say, hey, what we did against the 49ers was not who we are. But
Right.
starting to kind of feel like that's who they are. Now, this wasn't obviously a dud in comparison to the 49ers game, but you still there's not a lot of confidence in the Cowboys being a team that you feel like they could go on a run in January. So, I wanted to close out the show and kind of take a look at the Chiefs' remaining schedule. Um, so their next matchup is against the Chargers, and then the Broncos again. Both games that I think we both agree they should win easily. Of course, having said what we just said about the Chargers, this game has 30-27 written all over it because that's what a Chiefs Chargers game is. Is the Chargers always give the Chiefs their best. So the Chiefs better come out swinging because this could be a game where the Chargers figure it out for a week and then turn back into a pumpkin. But Chargers, Broncos again. I think another easy win this time on the road. But after that, game of the year, in my opinion, Dolphins Chiefs in Germany. These are kind of the two AFC favorites. And I think after that game, we'll have a good idea of who the team to beat is in the AFC.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I forgot that was in Germany, so that's really cool. Should be a fantastic game, and then I believe they go on bye after that.
Yep.
So,
Yep. And then
yeah, and they have all that time to prepare for the Eagles.
yeah, I do think that it's cool that game is going to be in Germany, but I don't know if it's going to have the same juice in Germany that it would in Miami or in Kansas City. So I hope the
Yeah, I'm
crowd's
sure they
into
would.
it.
Right. I'm sure the NFL would take that back, knowing how good the Dolphins are now
Mm-hmm.
and just how explosive their offense is. That would be better suited for a home crowd for either team. But it's supposed to be a home game for the Chiefs. We'll see how Germany shows out. I mean, honestly, watching highlights of the London game so far, there's multiple kids with Mahomes jerseys, and that's London, so they've kind of marketed the Chiefs as like a Germany team. Like, hey, we're gonna come play a home game here. Like you're our fans, kind of thing. That's kind of how they've been doing this with London
Mm-hmm.
and other teams. So hopefully that'll be on the Chiefs' side. But yeah, that should be a fantastic game.
Yeah, and yeah, as you said, they take that game into the bye week, prepare for the Super Bowl rematch the week of Thanksgiving against the Eagles at home.
At
And
home.
again, could be an interesting matchup because the Chiefs and Eagles are both obviously very good, but they're both teams that like still they're probably not playing the best that they could. And maybe a month from now, they'll both be firing on all cylinders. I would hope by late November, both of these teams would be there.
Yeah, I think both teams really were at the height of their powers last year, obviously. But I mean, the Eagles lost like once last year or whatever it was, and the Eagles they were 5-0, but even barring the Jets game, they don't look as bulletproof. They're still the kind of best team in the NFC, but they don't look as dangerous, I guess, as last season. So I think, yeah, going with what you said, in a month, hopefully both these guys are at the top of their powers again and give us a good game. But I don't know. I think the Chiefs have a slight edge depending on the Miami game. I feel like the Chiefs, with this heightened defense, should give the Eagles a different look this time around.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to get too far down the road on the schedule. We can revisit that the rest of the schedule at a later time. But again, Chargers, Broncos, Dolphins, Eagles. That's the Chiefs' next 4 games, and I mean, you like to think that they can win all 4, but you hope for 3-1. That's all I have for this week, Tyler. I will say, just quick plug, real quick. If you're a fan of Survivor, me and a couple friends are doing a weekly recap show that comes out every Friday called The Merge Feast. It's available wherever you get your podcasts, and it is just the 3 of me and a couple friends just getting together and talking about the episode and just having a good time. So check it out if you're interested. See you next week.